Let me know when you're able to see my screen. Okay. Are you able to see my screen? Hello? Yes, okay. Today we are going to discuss information link. This is by far the most important topic in the Spotfire session. There's a downside at this point. Discussing this topic would need Spotfire server. I mean, for a hands-on, because the action takes place on the server. Right now we don't have the server. I guess Koteshwar seemed to have got a server installation from Hyderabad. So I was like waiting whether if Koteshwar joins now, we could possibly confirm that with him, and if yes, we could possibly demonstrate on that server that he has installed on his machine. Unfortunately, he has not joined today. So, and I've made some arrangements to get the server, but the person who is supposed to deliver the server, his machine is crashed, and he's in Hyderabad. He said he'll get me the server, but I called him up yesterday, but he couldn't get that file as of yet. So right now we can only discuss the theoretical part of it and the screenshots. This is the screenshot, the workflow, how to do that, and we could possibly get into the get a feel of that server once we get the installable files for server, or possibly we can first confirm with Koteshwar. I do have a server installation thing with me, but it can only be done on an AMD machine because it is a VMware image, and it's like around 45 GB data. Okay, so the whole thing that works is like this. So far what you have seen here is we have been pulling data from Excel files into Spotfire. Now this is fine for POCs or some test projects. It's fine, but in real time you will be pulling data from data warehousing databases, say Teradata, something like that, or Data or Greencloud. Now, although we can directly connect to database from Spotfire, there are certain disadvantages if we connect directly to the database. One is this database will have millions of records, and if you try to connect directly, all this data will get loaded onto Spotfire, and Spotfire being an in-memory tool, it will try to load everything into memory, and Spotfire will crash. So in order to avoid that, we will be loading only the selected data which we need to look at the current point of time. So for that we have to limit the data at the source level. And this is done using information links. Information links can do a lot more than that, but this is one of the purposes of creating information links. And instead of adding a data table directly into Spotfire from say Excel file or from a database, we create an information link using the information designer tool, which is available on the tools menu on Spotfire. If you look at Spotfire right now, you'll see that this is disabled. The information designer menu is disabled on the tools card or tools menu on Spotfire, because what we are looking at is a trial version. But this is how it would look like. When you click on the tools and information designer, this is how the information designer would look like. The window, it gives you the link to create information link, to create column elements, to create filter elements, to create join elements, and to create data source. And then you see a pane on the left which has got the elements that you have created using these links, and the data sources that you have configured using this setup data source link. These are the items that you would need to create what is known as information link. The information link is a Spotfire equivalent of a SQL view. Okay, basically a SQL query. Under the hood, what we are creating is a SQL query. Information link is a way of graphically creating that SQL query, and you can even view that query. There is a once you create information link, there will be a button named SQL. If you click on that button, you'll be able to see the underlying query that you have created as an information link. So this is how you access it. Tools, information designer. Let me log on. So there is a specific workflow in creating information link, which is, first step is, okay, as I said, go to tools, information designer. And then you first configure a data source. Which data source that you want to connect to. Say for instance, this is your data source. Once that is done, you create column elements one by one. All the columns that you see in the data table, when you add it from Excel or any other data source, all of these columns, when using information link, you will have to create all these columns one by one from the data source. I'll show you how that is done using the screenshot, and then create join elements, because these columns could be effectively coming from different tables on the database. From you'll have like two different tables, and these columns will be coming from two different tables. When you have data coming from two different tables, and in a select query, if you want to get columns from two different tables, then you will have to write a join. Say a typical SQL join would look something like this. Select column name, as many columns that you want, add them, then you say like from table 1, then you say inner join or outer join, table 2, and you say let's give an alias table 1 and table 2 for these tables. Then you say on t1 dot, you have a joining column. Say for instance, if I say this is ID, the joining column, the column on which these two tables are joined, then I say t1.id equal to t2.id. So now we have a relation there. this particular statement is creating a join between these two tables, so that you can query these two columns, or these set of columns from both the tables in one select query. So that's why you create a join element. Then you create a filter element, one or more filter element, to filter the data from the data source. This is one of the reasons why you create information links. So because we will be otherwise be pulling this millions of records from the database into Spotfire. So in order to filter the data there, in order to filter that, what we do is create the filter elements. Now, once all this is done, we create an information link, adding using all those column elements, those join elements, and those filter elements. Now you have to note that all these things are saved on the server. We call it the library. So once information link has been saved on a folder, okay, all this is saved to a folder on the library. And the next workflow is from Spotfire, okay, go to file, then say add data table, and then choose library, and then browse to the folder which has the where the information link has been saved, this one, and add. That way instead of the flat files that you've been using, you will be adding the data from into Spotfire using information link. Okay, this is how you do. Click on add data from library, then you browse to that folder on information link where the information link has been saved. Right now we don't have information links on this, so it cannot be added. This is how you go to tools, design, tools, and there will be an option on this tools menu here called information designer. That's what you're talking about right now. So once you're done this, rest is the same as you add data from Excel. And I'm going to look at the screenshots now. Before that, any questions on this? Anybody? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Hey, Varun.
Yeah.
So, is this the primary purpose to join two tables?
See, no. You can technically pull data from one single table, and you don't normally use tables. You use views. Okay, because to implement security and a lot of things, you always no DBA will give you access directly to the tables. You are
some kind of.
Okay, so he's going to create a view for us for whatever we want.
Yeah, the DBA will always create a view and give you. He will not give you access to any of the tables. Period.
Okay.
And the views that you're looking at could be, say, a covering view on a table, or that view could have join inside. have you looked at any of the SQL so far? I can show you what a simple view looks like. This is how it is. We say,
yeah, it's just like it's just a SQL statement which is ready, right? So
correct,
whenever
yeah.
we click on it, we'll run
create
it.
a view.
The query will run and get the result. That's it.
Yeah. See, look at this. Create view. Get data from some obscure table. Then you write a select statement. This select statement could be pulling columns from any number of tables, right? Say T1, join table T2 on T1 dot a particular column equal to T2 dot that particular column, and then you could possibly have even more joins there. You will never know unless you have the access to see the view definition. Sorry, hello.
Nothing. I'm good as far as view is concerned.
Okay, so you could have a view like this, which the DBA has created for you, and when you configure the data source and you are adding the columns, you are adding not from the table but from this particular view here. You create a view like this. I mean, the DBA creates a view like this because he will be enforcing some security. These joins are doing just that. They might have a mapping. This table might be a mapping table with say particular regions where you have access to. So depending upon who is looking at what, the security will be implemented there, and it's those views which we will be accessing. Okay, so let's look at the workflow. This is how the workflow looks like. You click on Tools, Information Designer, and then you see this. Okay, the first step is creating a data source or configuring a data source. Now, chances are likely that the data source might be already configured. So if you are joining an organization where spot fair practice did not exist, then you might possibly end up creating some data source. Or if you get into a new project where the work has not started yet, and then you might possibly be configuring the data source there. But chances are highly likely that when you join an organization, the practice is already there, and the project is currently running. So in all probability the data source will be configured. So you may not be doing this on a daily basis, but you should be knowing how to do that. This is how you do it. You go to click on the Tools, Information Designer, and then click on the Setup Data Source, and then you get this window pop up. There you choose what is your database, give the connection URL to the database and the username and password, and once you click Save, your data source will get saved onto the server, and you can see that on the data source tab of Information Designer. Any questions? Anybody? I'm gonna go a little slow on this because we can't have a hands-on right now. It's highly likely that once we have a server, we can possibly configure it, but I doubt it. Previous sessions, people have come with their office laptop on which that was already installed, and especially those Iron Python scripting, one sessions they had an office laptop, so which they had access to. So it can be done on that, but there are some cracked versions of Spotfire server available in Hyderabad, but trying to get access to that. Koteshwar seems to have access to one of them. I don't know whether it will work or not, so we'll have to wait for Koteshwar to log in to find out if that is possible. So we may or may not have a hands-on Information Designer. So this is pretty crucial, and the and this is the most important topic that will be asked in the interview. So I'm going to go a little slow on this to make sure that the idea soaks in for everybody. Okay, so the first step, configuring the data source. That is what you have seen right now. So the next is creating those column elements there. Now, we didn't have to do any of these when you added data from that flat file. All the columns got pulled in from the data source automatically when you added that Excel file. But here we'll have to do it the hard way, which is, look at like this. The data source that we had configured in the previous step, and it's on the tab there. You click on that tab and you expand the data source, you expand the database inside, then expand the table or view that you have access to, and expand to the columns in the view that you have you want to add. Then you have to click on that create column element. See that here? Click on this link and you will get this pop-up here. Okay, and once you get this window, you click on the column in the data source tab and add one column there. And you see that alias %1. When you add a column, you will get an alias there for that particular column. It's like %1, and you can add some expressions if you want. Say if you don't want that column per se, instead you want to aggregate that column, maybe take sum or average, you can do that. But otherwise, you add that column straight. So which means you get at the lowest granularity level, and you click save. And when you click save, you will be asked to save that to a folder path on library, and which is where this elements tab comes handy. Browse to a folder on the library where you have access to. In all probability, in organizations, a folder will be created for in the project name. Whatever project that you're working on, there will be a folder created in that by that name, and you will have subfolders created in that under that project folder with folders for storing information links, folders for storing elements, folders for storing filter objects, folders for storing join elements. Okay, so under the project folder, under the information links folder, you save this. Under the elements folder in the project folder, you save this. See that? Like this. See? On the elements tab, you don't see the project name here, but basically that's where it will get saved. Under the project folder, you have the analysis, elements, filters, joins, procedures, information links, right? So analysis, where you will be saving the DXP spot for analysis file there, and under the elements folder, under the project folder, you will be saving the elements that you have created, and you can group these elements under subfolders under the elements too, based on their affinity. So like this, you will have to create column element and save to this element folder one by one. If you have 30 different columns, you will have to repeat this step 30 times. If you have 50 columns, you will have to repeat it 50 times. One by one, each element is saved to the elements folder. Any questions on that? Hello? Any questions on that? Okay, good. Next is, see, right, we have the information, data source configured, we have the column elements configured, now we have the join elements.
Yeah, here Varun,
Yeah, yes.
create column elements in the sense the required whatever the columns we need to add those columns
One by one.
on that's it. That's
Yeah.
on that step. So once
Yeah.
we done that, then we have to join the tables.
See, these columns will be coming from multiple tables. Some might be coming from
Yeah,
fact sales. Okay, some of them would be
Yeah.
coming from customer information, dim customers.
Right.
Okay, and some of them would be coming from maybe dim employees or
Yeah, some other
fact shipping. So there will be complicated join procedures on the database.
Okay.
So we'll have to replicate that join inside Spotfire.
Okay.
If there are some, if there are 4 tables, there will be 3 joins. N number of
Okay.
tables, there will be n minus 1 joins. That's the funda.
Okay. Yeah.
Alright?
Yeah.
Okay. And remember, we are not adding the tables, we are adding the views. Okay.
Okay.
Alright. So joins are of basically 2 types. Either it is a inner join or an outer join. There is
Okay.
also a cross join, which is basically a Cartesian product. Okay, but we are not going to discuss that. That comes under the SQL part. Hey, I had uploaded a book on SQL. Did you, by chance, take a look at that?
So you added in Google folder? We haven't checked.
Yeah, I have done that. Spotfire common documents. Yeah. See that? Spotfire common documents. I guess you have access to it. No, I don't even think you have access. Okay. Did I miss anybody?
Praveen. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, Praveen is on. 6 people.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, join, coming back to join, I could be either an inner join or an left outer join or a right outer join. Or Spotfire also gives you something called a freehand join. This is basically an inner join with join on multiple columns. Okay, here you add the elements, sorry, the columns from the two tables where you want to base the join on. Okay, if you have only, if two tables are joined using only like one column, you add the column, the same column from both the tables. And if it's an inner join, you pick the join condition, whether it is an inner join or an outer join or a freehand join, and then just click save and save to the join folder under the project tab. See here, you will save in the joins folder in the projects folder. If that is inner join. If it's a freehand join, then you will be adding, say, if you have a join based on two columns in each table, then you will add those four columns. Two columns on the table 1 and two columns on the table 2. And then you say, see that alias there. So you'll have like alias as %1, %2, %3 and %4. Then you'll be saying %1 equal to %3 and %2 equal to %4. See that here, freehand join. And you create the join elements and save it to the folder named joins under the project folder. Clear with that? Okay. I know it will be a little hard for you to visualize this without actually doing it. So like, so I'm going a little slow on that. Next is the filter element. This is where the actual filtering of the data will happen. I mean, this is one of the prime reasons why we want to add a decisive information link. There are other reasons too, like data on demand, personalized information links. We will get there later, but understanding the information link is the crucial thing that you need to do before you can go on to other topics. So here we possibly want to look at only data from a particular date or between a date range, or maybe all the values which are less than or greater than a particular number, or maybe like you are just trying to look at only those sales. See here we are looking at sales which are less than 10,000. Usually it is date. Databases, data warehouse will have historical data. You don't want to look at all the data. You're just trying to look at the data in the past 6 months, right? You got that point there? The past 6 month data. So you'll be creating a filter and then you'll be putting a date range. So instead of sales, you will be adding a date, see this order date or delivery date, and then say create an expression like this here, %1 greater than a given date. So which will give you all the records which are after that date. Or if you want to give a time range, you can say greater than this date and less than another date. Make sense? Does that make sense? Hello?
Complicated, but
sorry?
Confusion.
Hey Varun, is that hello?
Yeah.
Is that master MSDB? Is it a table or tables or a views?
Those are that master MSDB and all those things are SQL Server databases, default databases. Master is the master database in SQL Server. MSDB is also system database on SQL Server.
Okay.
Sales is the user database.
Okay.
TempDB is also system database. I know that because I've worked on SQL Server, that's why.
Okay.
Okay. So, this has got nothing got to do with that. What we do here is we create all these columns and joins and filters and save it to the appropriate folders on the library, and then we create an information link and add these items to the information link and save the information link back to the server. Then you add this information link as a data table into Spotfire. That is when everything comes into play. Okay, I'll say this again, to make things a little more clear. Instead of adding data directly into Spotfire, we want to manipulate data, and we also want to filter data at the data source and also implement security. We'll get to that implementing security part later, or selectively load data as data on demand. We'll get there later. But the prime thing is we need an information link. An information link is just a Spotfire equivalent of SQL view. And how do you do that? You create an information link using information designer tool on Spotfire. Now to do that, you need column elements which you create separately, and you need join elements which you create separately, also filter elements which also you create separately. And from the information designer menu on Spotfire, you click on the information link and add all these column elements, join elements and filter elements which you have created, and then save this information link onto the library. And then you open Spotfire again and add data table. Then you browse to the library and add this information link. Instead of adding an Excel file or database directly, you add this information link, and data will be loaded into Spotfire just like that. And all the rules that you applied, say filters, everything will be applied, and only data that satisfies those rules will be added into Spotfire.
So once we created this information link,
Yes.
Is this for only particular kind of dashboard, or we can reuse this information links for creating a new dashboard?
That's the beauty. You can reuse it. We can even edit the information link and make modifications and save it as a different information link, new one. You can reuse it. That's the point.
Okay.
All of the server automations can be done only if you have added it as an information link. Okay.
So once we create it, we can modify, we can edit the information link, and we can use it.
It is basically an object that you save on the server. It's an element that you save on the library. So you can view that, you can edit it, we can delete it, set permissions to that, to the folder, okay, or the information link element which is saved on the library. Say that say Sravan can view it, but Pavan cannot view that. That sort of permissions.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, once we create information link, we'll use the security for this, like.
Security is later. This is folder security that I'm talking about. Folder security on library, where you can set the permission level there. Say Sravan has got, say, view access. Pavan has got full control. You can do that. On the folder, which means if Sravan does not even have view access, you wouldn't even know that such a folder exists. See, for instance, look at here. We all have created username and password on Spotfire cloud server, which means on the users in the users folder you will find a folder under your username. Okay, right now when I click on users folder, I see the name new batch 5am, which is the recent username which I've created. But do I get to see the usernames that you have created there, or the millions of people, other people who have, assuming that Spotfire is being used by millions of people, I mean anybody. So do I see any of the usernames there? Can you see my screen? When you look at it, you are seeing only your folder there. Why? Because you have access to only this folder. There are other folders on this other subfolders in this users folder, this path, library / users, but we don't have view permission there.
Okay.
Okay, so you can control access to all these things, objects which are saved in library. Coming back to the point, here we have created the filters. Now comes the sweet part, information link. This is what we have been waiting for, and this is what companies would love to ask you, grill you, to ask a lot of questions on, check your understanding of those things. And there is a reason why they do that. This is the most important part. Here you click on the create information link on the page link here. See this create information link here on the start tab of information designer, and then you expand the elements under the elements tab and add those elements that you have added. Okay, and you also add the filters that you have created. See this filter there, higher than minimum sales. So first part is done. Then you need to add the joins that you create, right? So you see this join path here collapsed here. You see that? This one here. You expand it and click on suggest joins, which will add the join elements which you have created for those columns. So based on what columns that you have added here, when you click on suggest joins, the corresponding joins that you have created and saved in this join folder will be added here. And if you want to get a real hands-on, you can expand that folder and select the particular join that you want to add and click on add here. But trust me, suggest join works much better and fast and easy too. It saves you some trouble. And that's it. You save the information link to the library. So see over here to this folder under the project name. And rest is all similar, just as what we do in the other thing. You click on file, click on add data table, and then or you can click open from library, but I always prefer if you click on open from library, that it will replace what is existing, any existing data tables in Spotfire. So I always add this add data table and then browse to the like this, add from library, then browse to the folder which has got where I have saved the information link, and then click OK. And then you will see that data getting opened in Spotfire, just like you have added data from Excel file, and that's it. And once you are done with the analysis, you create chart visualization, and you can save it back to the server, which is file save as librator. We have access to do this over here right now. We can save to the folder, our folder on library, and see that, and you can save it to the library, and you can set folder permission there. Usually always leave that to the library administrator to do it. See Sravan, this is what I said earlier. See, if you don't have browse access, then you won't be able to see that. That's it. Folder permissions. That's it. That is the information link and information designer. Does that make sense? Hello?
Yeah.
This single topic makes you at least like 60% ready for interviews. This one thing alone will help you in answering most of the questions in interview. But we will be elaborating more on this, on the various practical purposes of this, on why we need information link, other scenarios where we will be using information link, like implementing security to limit the data. Say you may have access to a particular data which somebody else does not have. That authorization, how to use create set up authorizations using information link, how to selectively load data on the fly. If you have too much data and you can't view all of them at one shot, based on some property controls, you can load data on the fly in the Spotfire. That is called data on demand. All these things are based on information link. Now that you have understood, or at least taken the first step towards information link, it's a quantum jump, and then we'll continue the discussions on data on demand and personalized information links, parameterized information links. That will cover the most important topics. And then what we have is like certain other remaining smaller topics like statistical visualizations, those map charts and heat maps, those things. Okay?
Okay.
Alright, so I've recorded the video today, but it will take some time for me to convert it. Meanwhile, I recommend everybody to install Camtasia Studio on your machines. I know Sravan, you have some other tool there on your Mac, so you already have it. But rest of them, please install it so that we don't lose any time on uploading things. It takes a lot of time. When I click on something here, I have a session now at 7:30. So if I try and convert every single video, on total it takes around like 5 hours for me to convert all these videos. And when I go out for other sessions or go to office, then the whole thing gets disrupted. And I have to take my laptop. So there will be delays of like 2, 3, maybe sometimes. No, I have not even uploaded or converted the last session that I have. But if you have Camtasia Studio, I can upload the raw file which I have created using Camtasia Studio. It's much more bigger size, but once you have installed Camtasia Studio, you can view that. So no conversion is required. But the file size will be big. Instead of 50 MB or 60 MB, it will be 300 MB. But once you have installed the screen recording, you can record the sessions at your end. Okay?
Yeah. Alright.
Alright. So, see you tomorrow. And yeah. Alright. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
What is this, Praveen?
Yeah, tell me.
I almost missed most of the class today, so what exactly was this Camtasia Studio? What was asking?
Camtasia Studio is a screen recording software.
Okay.
So that you can record the sessions at your end. Because me doing it for one session is fine, but I'm having back-to-back sessions, and whenever I record a session, that session has to be converted into an MP4 file, which will take almost an hour and a half, sometimes more. So when I have like 5 sessions, this will take almost 6 to 7 hours, which is why there is a huge delay. And when I go to office, that process is stopped because I'll be shutting down my laptop.
Okay.
So and there is like even now I've not been able to convert the video that we had of the session that we had last week. So not to avoid the delay, if you install it at your end, you will be able to record the session and you will be able to view it right after the session. No delays. And I have uploaded the software as well as the key and the instructions to install it on the folder on Google Drive, so that you can follow that.
Okay, one thing, like even I tried